If you receive Social Security, or you are getting close to claiming it, there is one number that can quietly affect your entire retirement budget. That number is the annual COLA, the cost of living adjustment. Every year, retirees wait for the official announcement because it tells them how much their Social Security check may increase the following January, but the official number does not come out until October, and for many people living on a fixed income, waiting until October feels too late. That is why early estimates matter. The first estimates for the 2027 Social Security COLA are now being discussed, and the number being talked about right now is around 2.8%. Some projections are slightly higher, closer to 3.1%. Now, before anyone gets too excited or too worried, it is important to understand one thing clearly. This is not the final number. It is only an estimate. The official 2027 COLA will not be announced until October 2026, and it will be based on inflation data from July, August, and September. Since those months have not happened yet, any number we see today can still change. But even as an estimate, it gives retirees something useful, a starting point for planning. To understand where this number fits, let's look at the last few years. The Social Security COLA for 2022 was 5.9%. Then, for 2023, it jumped to 8.7%, the highest increase in decades. That large increase happened because inflation had surged after the pandemic, with prices rising sharply for food, energy, housing, and other essentials. After that, the numbers started cooling down. The COLA for 2024 was 3.2%. For 2025, it dropped to 2.5%. Then for 2026, it moved slightly higher to 2.8%. So if the early estimate for 2027 remains around 2.8%, it would mean Social Security benefits may increase at roughly the same pace as the prior year. But here is the problem. A 2.8% increase may sound fine on paper, but many retirees may not feel like they are truly getting ahead. Let's put this into real dollars. If the average Social Security benefit is around $2,024 per month, a 2.8% increase would add about $57 per month. Over a full year, that is roughly $680 more before deductions. That is helpful, but it is not a huge amount. And for many retirees, the full increase may not actually show up in their bank account because Medicare Part B premiums are often deducted directly from Social Security checks. This is one of the most important points to understand. When people hear 2.8% COLA, they may assume their take-home Social Security check will rise by the full 2.8%, but that is not always what happens. If Medicare premiums go up at the same time, the real increase can be smaller. In some years, Medicare can absorb a large portion of the COLA, so the number that matters most is not just the gross increase. It is the amount you actually receive after deductions. That is why retirees should be careful when planning around early COLA estimates. Now, let's talk about how the COLA is calculated. Social Security does not use the regular inflation number that people often hear about in the news. Instead, it uses something called the CPI-W, which stands for Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers. The Social Security Administration looks at the average CPI-W for July, August, and September of the current year. Then it compares that number to the average from July, August, and September of the previous year. The percentage difference becomes the COLA for the next year. That formula sounds simple, but there is a deeper issue. CPI-W is based on the spending patterns of working people, not retirees. That matters because retirees often spend money differently from younger workers. A working person may spend more on commuting, work clothes, restaurants, and transportation. A retiree may spend more on healthcare, prescriptions, insurance, housing, utilities, and home-related costs. So if Social Security uses an index that does not fully reflect retiree spending, the COLA may not completely match the real inflation retirees experience. This is why many people argue that the government should use a different measure called the CPIE. CPIE is designed to reflect spending by older Americans. Since retirees usually spend more on healthcare and housing, CPIE may better represent the actual cost pressures they face. But as of now, Social Security still uses CPI-W, and that can create a long-term problem. Even if the difference between CPI-W and retiree expenses is small in 1 year, that gap can build over time. A retiree may not notice the full effect immediately, but after 10, 15, or 20 years, the loss of buying power can become serious. This is why some retirement advocates say Social Security has lost purchasing power over the years. The checks may be bigger than they used to be, but the cost of living has also increased. And for many retirees, expenses like healthcare, housing, insurance, and groceries have risen faster than their benefits. That is the real issue behind the 2027 COLA estimate. The question is not only, will Social Security go up? The better question is, will the increase be enough to keep up with the expenses retirees actually face? Right now, the answer is uncertain. A 2.8% estimate suggests a modest increase. It is not terrible, but it is not a major boost either. And because the official number depends heavily on inflation during July, August, and September, the final COLA could move higher or lower. Energy prices could play a major role. If gas prices rise and stay high, inflation could move up, which may push the COLA estimate higher. But if energy prices calm down and inflation cools, the final number could stay near the current estimate or even come in lower. That is why retirees should not treat early estimates as guaranteed. Instead, they should use them as planning signals. If you are already collecting Social Security, start by estimating what a 2.8% increase could mean for your own benefit. Then remember to factor in possible Medicare premium increases. If you receive $1,500 per month, a 2.8% COLA would add about $42 per month before deductions. If you receive $2,200 per month, it would add about $62 per month. If you receive $3,000 per month, it would add about $84 per month. Those numbers can help you plan, but they should not be treated as final. If you have not claimed Social Security yet, there is another important point to consider. The size of your starting benefit matters because future COLAs are applied to that amount. A larger benefit means each future percentage increase produces a larger dollar increase. For example, a 2.8% increase on $1,500 is much smaller than a 2.8% increase on $2,500. That is one reason delaying Social Security can be powerful for some people. Not only can delaying increase your monthly benefit, but it can also make every future COLA more valuable in dollar terms. Of course, delaying is not right for everyone. Health, income needs, family situation, savings, and life expectancy all matter. But it is something every near retiree should understand before claiming. The bigger lesson is this: Social Security should ideally be one part of a larger retirement plan, not the entire plan. When Social Security is your only income source, even a small change in inflation, Medicare premiums, or rent can create pressure. But when Social Security is supported by savings, pensions, part-time income, retirement accounts, or other income sources, modest COLA years become easier to handle. So what should retirees do now? First, do not panic. Second, do not assume the early estimate is final. Third, look at your own budget. Your personal inflation rate may be very different from the official number. If your biggest expenses are healthcare, rent, insurance, and groceries, you may feel inflation more strongly than the COLA suggests. And finally, watch for the official announcement in October 2026. That is when retirees will know the actual 2027 Social Security COLA. For now, the early estimate is around 2.8%, with some projections closer to 3.1%. That could mean a modest increase in monthly benefits, but the real impact will depend on Medicare premiums, inflation trends, and each retiree's personal expenses. So the key takeaway is simple. Do not focus only on the headline number. Focus on what that number means for your real monthly budget. Because in retirement, the most important question is not whether your Social Security check goes up. It is whether your money can keep up with the life you actually have to pay for. And in the next video, we will look at the Social Security decisions that can quietly reduce your lifetime benefits and what you can do to avoid them.